Have you ever stopped for just a moment and wished you could go back to being a child? Back then, life felt incredibly simple. There were no bills to pay, no deadlines to chase, and no endless responsibilities waiting for us every morning. Our days were filled with laughter, curiosity, and happiness found in the smallest things. Every morning began with a cheerful sound of birds singing outside the window. Warm sunlight slowly filled the room as the delicious smell of breakfast drifted from the kitchen. Our mother was already busy preparing the meal, while our father got ready for another long day at work. Before leaving, he would gently pat our heads or smile at us. At that age, we never realized how precious those little moments were. Today, looking back, we understand that those simple gestures were expressions of a father's unconditional love. After breakfast, we hurried to put on our school uniforms. Our backpacks often looked bigger than our little bodies, yet we carried them proudly. We weren't excited only because of school. We were excited because we knew our best friends would be waiting for us. The journey to school was an adventure on its own. Some of us walked together, laughing all the way. Others rode old bicycles, racing each other along dusty roads. Sometimes we stopped just to watch butterflies dancing above the flowers or to admire the beauty of the morning sky. Life moved slowly back then. Nobody seemed to be in a hurry. Every single day felt endless. At school, the ringing bell signaled the beginning of another exciting day. We learned how to read, write, and count. But more importantly, we learned kindness, honesty, friendship, teamwork, and respect. When recess arrived, the schoolyard instantly came alive. Children's laughter echoed everywhere. Some played soccer with a worn-out plastic ball, while others enjoyed hide-and-seek, jump rope, tag, or simply sat together sharing homemade lunches. Those lunches were simple rice, fried eggs, vegetables, or noodles. Yet somehow they tasted far better when shared with friends. Nobody cared whose food was more expensive. Sharing was simply what friends did. After school, the fun was far from over. Instead of going straight home, we often took the longest route possible. We explored small rivers, climbed trees, chased dragonflies, and picked wildflowers growing along the roadside. Every ordinary afternoon felt like a brand new adventure. When we finally arrived home, our mother welcomed us with a warm smile. She would ask about our day while serving a snack or a glass of tea. At the time, we answered with only a few words. Now we realize those simple questions were her way of saying, "I love you." As the afternoon turned into evening, our favorite part of the day finally arrived. One by one, children came outside carrying soccer balls, homemade kites, bicycles, or sometimes nothing at all. There was no need for phones or text messages. We simply stood outside and shouted our friends' names. Within minutes, the neighborhood was filled with joyful laughter. We played until the sun slowly disappeared behind the trees. Our clothes became dirty. Our feet were covered with dust. Sometimes we fell and scraped our knees. But none of that mattered. All that mattered was having fun together. Then, from a distance, we heard the familiar voice that every child knew, our mother calling us home. Reluctantly, we waved goodbye to our friends, knowing tomorrow would bring another adventure. That was childhood. Simple, pure, beautiful. We didn't need expensive toys. We didn't need luxury vacations. We didn't need smartphones or social media. The smallest moments were enough to fill our hearts with happiness. Today, years have passed. Many things have changed. We have grown older. Life has become busier. Responsibilities have replaced carefree afternoons. But every time we hear children laughing, smell the fresh air after rain, or watch a kite flying across the sky. Our hearts quietly travel back to those unforgettable days. Maybe we can never become children again, but those beautiful memories will always remain. Because childhood was never perfect, because we had everything. It was perfect because the simplest moments were enough to make us truly happy. And perhaps that is the greatest treasure we will ever carry throughout our lives. One of the greatest gifts of childhood was friendship. Back then, friendship was never measured by money, appearance, or popularity. No one cared about the brand of your shoes or how big your house was. We simply became friends because we enjoyed spending time together. Every afternoon, as the sun slowly began its journey toward the horizon, the neighborhood came alive. One by one, children stepped outside their homes carrying whatever they had: a worn-out soccer ball, a homemade kite, an old bicycle, or sometimes nothing at all. We didn't need expensive toys to create unforgettable memories. Our imagination did the rest. The empty field at the end of the street became our stadium. A dusty road turned into a racing track. A few trees became the perfect hiding places during a game of hide-and-seek. Every place became magical because we filled it with laughter. We played until our legs were tired. We laughed until our stomachs hurt. Sometimes we argued over the rules of a game, but just a few minutes later, we were laughing together again as if nothing had happened. Children have a beautiful way of forgiving. There were no long grudges, no complicated misunderstandings, just pure friendship. During kite season, the sky transformed into a colorful masterpiece. Handmade kites danced high above the fields while we ran as fast as we could, hoping the wind would carry them even higher. The moment our kite reached the clouds, we felt like champions. When the rainy season arrived, our adventures changed. We folded pieces of paper into tiny boats and placed them in the flowing water along the roadside. Then we ran beside them, cheering as if they were competing in the greatest race on earth. Sometimes the boats sank after only a few meters. Sometimes they traveled farther than we expected. Either way, we laughed without a care in the world. The smallest moments brought the biggest smiles. As evening approached, the golden sunlight painted the sky with shades of orange and pink. The air became cooler, and the sounds of birds returning home echoed across the village. One by one, mothers called their children home. Time for dinner. Those words always meant the adventure had come to an end. Reluctantly, we waved goodbye to our friends. See you tomorrow. And somehow, tomorrow always felt full of endless possibilities. At night, after dinner, the whole family gathered together. There were no smartphones keeping everyone's eyes glued to a screen. No endless scrolling. No constant notifications. Instead, we shared stories. We laughed together. We listened to our parents talk about their childhood. Sometimes our grandparents told us old stories filled with wisdom, courage, and hope. We listened with wide open eyes, imagining every scene as if it were happening right in front of us. Slowly, sleep found us, wrapped in a warm blanket, surrounded by the people who loved us most. We drifted into dreams without fear or worry. Looking back now, those ordinary nights were actually extraordinary. We simply didn't know it then. Today, life is much faster. Our childhood friends are scattered across different cities and countries. Some have become teachers. Some are doctors. Some are parents. Some are still chasing dreams they once shared with us beneath the evening sky. Years have passed since we last played together. Yet somehow, whenever we hear an old song, smell fresh rain, or see children laughing in a field, their faces return to our memories, as if no time has passed at all. Perhaps that is the true magic of childhood. It never really leaves us. It quietly lives inside our hearts, waiting for a simple memory to bring it back to life. We may never run across those fields again. We may never fly another homemade kite with the same excitement. But the happiness we felt during those beautiful afternoons will remain with us forever. Because childhood is not a place we can return to. It is a feeling we carry for the rest of our lives. There was one season every child looked forward to more than anything else. School, vacation. Not because we could sleep a little longer or escape homework for a few weeks, but because it meant something far more exciting. It meant visiting Grandma and Grandpa. The journey itself felt like an adventure. As we traveled farther from the busy city, the scenery slowly changed. Tall buildings disappeared, replaced by endless green rice fields, winding rivers, gentle hills, and towering trees dancing in the breeze. We pressed our faces against the window, watching every passing view with excitement. It felt as if the world had suddenly become quieter, slower, and somehow happier. When we finally arrived, Grandma was already standing at the front door with the brightest smile. Before we could even put down our bags, she wrapped us in a warm hug that seemed to wash away every bit of exhaustion. From the long journey, Grandpa walked toward us with calm, gentle steps. His hands were rough from years of hard work, yet every touch was filled with love. He didn't say many words. He didn't have to. His smile said everything. Grandma's house wasn't luxurious. The wooden walls were old. The furniture was simple. The roof creaked whenever the wind blew. But somehow, it felt warmer than any mansion could ever be. Every corner of that house held a memory. Every room carried a story. Every morning began with the sound of roosters crowing before sunrise. Cool, fresh air drifted through the open windows while birds welcomed the new day with cheerful songs. Breakfast always tasted different there. Fresh vegetables from the garden, warm rice straight from the pot, homemade dishes prepared with endless love. No restaurant in the world could ever replace those meals. After breakfast, the adventure began. Together with cousins and neighborhood friends, we explored every corner of the village. We chased butterflies across open fields. We caught tiny fish in clear streams. We climbed fruit trees without worrying about getting dirty. Sometimes we simply lay on the soft grass, watching white clouds slowly float across the endless blue sky. Time seemed to stop. There were no schedules, no alarms, no pressure, only freedom. During the afternoons, Grandpa often invited us to walk through the rice fields. As we followed the narrow paths between the crops, he shared stories about his childhood. He spoke about life before electricity reached the village, about carrying water from the river, about working hard under the hot sun, about finding happiness in things that money could never buy. Back then, we listened with innocent curiosity. Today, those stories have become priceless treasures. As evening arrived, the entire family gathered on the front porch. The sunset painted the sky with breathtaking shades of orange, pink, and gold. A cool breeze carried the scent of flowers and fresh earth. No one rushed to leave. No one stared at a phone. We simply sat together, talking, laughing, listening, being present. When darkness covered the village, Grandma prepared warm tea and homemade snacks, while Grandpa continued telling stories beneath a sky filled with countless stars. Without city lights, the stars looked brighter than we had ever imagined. We searched for constellations, made wishes upon shooting stars, and believed that anything was possible. Eventually, sleep found us, wrapped in a soft blanket, surrounded by the peaceful sounds of crickets and the gentle whisper of the wind. We drifted into dreams feeling completely safe. Years have passed since those beautiful vacations. The world has changed. We have grown older. Life has become busier. Some of the people who filled those precious days with laughter are no longer with us. Grandma's chair may now sit quietly in the corner. Grandpa's walking stick may remain by the door. The house may look older than before. Yet every time we return, the memories come rushing back. We can almost hear Grandma calling us for breakfast. We can almost see Grandpa smiling from the porch. We can almost feel the warmth of those endless summer days. Perhaps home was never just a place. Perhaps home was the people who filled our hearts with unconditional love. And although time keeps moving forward, no distance, no years, and no amount of growing up can ever erase the beautiful memories we created in the little house that always felt like home. When we were children, we believed that everything would always stay the same. We thought our parents would always be there to wake us up in the morning, prepare our favorite meals, help us with our homework, and protect us from every problem that came our way. We never stopped to wonder how much they sacrificed just to give us a happy childhood. To us, it all seemed effortless. Every morning, before the sun had fully risen, Dad was already getting ready for work. Sometimes we were still asleep when he quietly walked out the front door. We never saw the long hours he spent working. We never felt the heat of the sun beating down on him or the exhaustion he carried home every evening. All we knew was that he always came back, and somehow there was always food on the table. There were always school supplies waiting when a new semester began. There was always enough. Mum's day never really ended. While everyone else was sleeping, she was already awake, preparing breakfast and making sure everything was ready before we left for school. She packed our lunches with care. She washed our clothes. She cleaned the house. She helped us study. She stayed by our side whenever we were sick. She celebrated every little achievement, as if it were the greatest victory in the world. As children, we often took those things for granted. Sometimes we complained because dinner wasn't what we wanted. Sometimes we cried because our friends had toys we couldn't have. Sometimes we became upset because our parents said no. Back then, we thought they were being unfair. Now we understand. Every no was spoken with love. Every rule was meant to protect us. Every sacrifice was made so that we could have a brighter future. There were days when Dad wanted to buy something for himself, but chose to spend that money on us instead. There were nights when Mom stayed awake, worrying about bills, school fees, and tomorrow's expenses while pretending everything was fine. They carried burdens we were never meant to see, because all they wanted was for us to keep smiling. As the years passed, something slowly changed. The strong hands that once carried us on their shoulders began to wrinkle. The fast footsteps that always rushed to help us became slower. The faces we once thought would never change were gently marked by time. Grey hair appeared. Laughter became softer. Silence lasted a little longer. One day, we looked at our parents and realized something we had never noticed before. They were growing old, and suddenly, the years that once felt endless seemed to disappear in the blink of an eye. Life has a strange way of teaching us what truly matters. When we are young, we are always in a hurry to grow up. But when we finally do, we wish we could go back, not to change anything, but simply to spend one more ordinary afternoon with the people who loved us the most. One more family dinner. One more bedtime story. One more hug before leaving for school. If your parents are still with you today, cherish every moment you have together. Sit with them. Listen to their stories, even if you've heard them many times before. Ask about their dreams. Thank them for the countless sacrifices they never talked about. One day, those conversations will become priceless memories. Childhood may be gone forever, but the love our parents gave us never fades. It lives quietly inside our hearts. It guides us when life becomes difficult. It comforts us when we feel lost. And no matter how old we become, we will always be the little child who once reached for our parents' hands, believing they could make everything better. Perhaps they truly did. As we grow older, life moves faster than we ever imagined. The days that once felt endless now disappear in the blink of an eye. Weeks become months. Months become years. And before we realize it, the little child who once dreamed beneath the stars has become an adult carrying responsibilities, expectations, and countless worries. Sometimes, in the middle of a busy day, an old song begins to play. Suddenly, everything stops. For a brief moment, we are no longer standing in the present. We are back in our childhood, back to the dusty roads where we raced our bicycles, back to the schoolyard filled with laughter, back to the evenings when our only mission was to enjoy every last minute before our mothers called us home. It is amazing how a single memory can travel farther than time itself. We begin to remember the faces of friends we haven't seen in years. The friend who always made everyone laugh. The one who never let us play alone. The one who promised that we would always stay together forever. Life had different plans. Some friendships slowly faded with distance. Some ended with nothing more than a quiet goodbye. Others remain alive only in photographs hidden inside old albums. Yet every single one of them helped shape the person we have become today. As children, we never imagined saying goodbye would be so difficult. We thought every summer would last forever. We believed every friendship would never end. We assumed our parents would always be young. We believed our grandparents would always be waiting on the porch with warm smiles. But time teaches every lesson that childhood never could. It teaches us that nothing lasts forever, not even the most beautiful moments. That is why they become so precious. One day, you may visit your old neighborhood again. Perhaps the houses have changed. Perhaps new families now live there. Perhaps the giant tree you once climbed exists only in your memories. Even so, if you stand quietly for a moment, you might still hear echoes of children's laughter carried by the wind. Not because they are truly there, but because your heart remembers every joyful moment. Home is more than walls and a roof. Home is every hug your mother gave you after a difficult day. Home is your father's comforting smile when you felt afraid. Home is sitting beside your grandparents while they shared stories beneath the stars. Home is every simple meal eaten around the family table. Home is every laugh shared with people who loved you exactly as you were. As adults, we spend so much time chasing tomorrow that we sometimes forget to appreciate today. We promise ourselves that we will visit more often, call more frequently, spend more time with the people we love. Yet tomorrow keeps becoming another tomorrow, until one day, tomorrow is no longer possible. That is why memories matter. They remind us to slow down, to say I love you while we still can, to forgive, to laugh, to embrace the people who have always stood beside us. Because one day, memories will become the greatest inheritance we leave behind. Money may disappear, possessions may be replaced, success may eventually be forgotten, but kindness, love, and beautiful memories live forever in the hearts of those we touched. Perhaps that is the true meaning of a beautiful childhood. It was never about having the perfect life. It was about having people who made ordinary days feel extraordinary. And even though those days are gone, their warmth still shines inside us, like a small light that never fades. A light that reminds us where we came from, who loved us, and why, no matter how far we travel in life, a part of our hearts will always remain in the beautiful days of childhood.